Sahran was a great white shark, but he was not like the others. He was born in the deep, silent parts of the Celestine Trench, where the water is cold and the light is shy. Most great whites are powerful hunters. Their eyes are sharp. Their teeth are like rows of daggers. Sahran had these things too, but he also had something else, something special, something that made him different from every other shark in the vast, endless ocean. It was a mark on his skin, just behind his gills. The mark was not a scar from a fight. It was not a bite from a rival. It was a soft, glowing shape, like a tiny, captured star. When he swam through the dark water, it pulsed with a gentle, silver light. Some said it was a gift from the moon itself. Others whispered it was a sign of an ancient promise. Sahran did not know what it meant. He only knew it was a part of him, like his fins, or his tail, or the quiet curiosity in his heart. It made him feel connected to something bigger than himself. He often swam alone, thinking his quiet thoughts. He watched the small fish dart and hide. He saw the slow dance of the kelp forests. He felt the pull of the tides, a steady rhythm like a slow heartbeat. The other young sharks practiced their hunting skills. They snapped and thrashed, proud of their growing strength. Sahran was strong too, but his strength felt different. It was a quiet strength, a patient strength. He wondered about the world beyond his small corner of the trench. He wondered if everyone felt as separate as he did. His mother, a wise and old shark, would look at his glowing mark. She would tell him stories of a time when the ocean was one, when all creatures, big and small, swam together under the same currents. A time before fear built invisible walls in the water. That mark, she would say, her voice a low rumble. It is not just for you, my Sahran. It is a light for others to follow. One day, you will understand its purpose. One day, the ocean will need its glow. And Sahran would listen, feeling the weight of a legacy he did not yet understand. The ocean was not one. It was a patchwork of fear and mistrust. The great shark clans of the Celestine Trench lived in their own territories. They did not speak to one another. They did not share hunting grounds. They only shared suspicion. Each clan believed their way was the only way. Their strength was the only true strength. They had forgotten the old stories of unity. They had forgotten how to be neighbors. The water between them was cold with silence and old grudges. The Razorfin clan lived in the volcanic vents. Their skin was tough like rock. Their teeth were serrated, perfect for tearing through the toughest prey. They were proud and fierce. They believed only in power. To them, kindness was a weakness. Their leader, Kale, was the strongest of them all. He ruled with an iron fin. The Razorfin sharks respected only force. They saw the other clans as soft and undisciplined. They kept to their heated waters, guarding their territory with aggressive patrols. The silent-tail sharks were masters of stealth. They lived in the dense, dark kelp forests. Their movements were like shadows. They could hunt without making a single ripple. They were secretive and suspicious. They trusted no one outside their own clan. They believed knowledge was power, but they kept their knowledge to themselves. They watched the other clans from the safety of their green maze. They saw the Razorfin's aggression and the Sandvale's isolation, and they wanted no part of either. And then there were the Sandvale kind. They were masters of camouflage. They lived on the vast open seabeds. They could bury themselves in the sand until they vanished completely. They were patient and solitary. They believed survival came from avoiding conflict at all costs. They were afraid of the other clans. They saw the Razorfin's violence and the Silent Tail's secrecy as threats. And so they hid, hoping the world would simply pass them by, leaving them in their lonely peace. The ocean was a very lonely place. Something was wrong in the deep. It started as a whisper, a strange taste in the water, a coldness that did not belong. At the very bottom of the Celestine Trench, a wound had opened in the seabed. It was a dark rift, a tear in the ocean floor. From it, a black, oily poison seeped out. It spread slowly at first, like a bad dream. It crept along the currents. It clung to the coral and choked the life from it. The poison changed things. The tides grew heavy and sick. They carried the darkness to every corner of the trench. The beautiful, vibrant colors of the coral reefs began to fade to a ghostly gray. The small, bright fish grew listless and ill. The water itself felt tired. It lost its clean, salty smell. Instead, it carried a scent of decay and sorrow. The poison was not just in the water, it was in the hearts of the sea creatures. Fear, already present, grew deeper and colder, and then came the monsters. They were creatures born from the rift's darkness. They were twisted and wrong. They had too many eyes, or not enough. Their bodies were jagged and sharp. They did not swim with the grace of the ocean's children. They moved with a hungry, desperate energy. They attacked without reason. They hunted not for food, but for destruction. They were the rift's children, and they knew only hunger and hate. They were a terror that the divided clans could not face alone. The clans retreated further into their territories. The Razorfin sharpened their teeth, believing their ferocity would protect them. The Silent Tails hid deeper in their dying kelp, hoping the monsters would not find them. The Sandvile kind buried themselves so completely they barely dared to breathe. But the poison did not care about territories. The monsters did not respect boundaries. The danger was everywhere, and the great ocean, once a cradle of life, was slowly, surely dying. The silence of the clans was no longer a choice, it was a death sentence. Sahran felt the sickness in the water. He saw the fear in the eyes of the little fish. He saw the gray pallor of the dying coral. His glowing mark seemed to pulse more brightly, as if it were trying to push back the encroaching darkness. He knew he could not stay in his quiet corner of the trench. His mother's words echoed in his heart. The ocean needed a light to follow. He swam to the deepest, most ancient part of the trench, a place called the Grotto of Whispers. This was the home of the moon jelly oracles. They were ancient jellyfish, older than any shark clan. Their bodies were translucent, filled with a soft, lunar light. They drifted in the silent currents, holding the ocean's oldest memories. They did not speak in words. They spoke in visions, in feelings, in light. Sahran approached them with respect. He did not demand answers. He simply floated before them, letting the light from his mark mingle with their own. He showed them his worry. He showed them his hope. The oracles understood. They surrounded him in a slow, weightless dance. Their light intensified, and in it, Sahran saw things. He saw the proud Razorfin leader Kale, alone in his volcanic fortress. He saw the fearful Silent Tail matriarch Lyra, watching her kelp forest wither. He saw the lonely Sandvile elder Olin, buried in his sandy solitude. The oracles showed him not their strength, but their secret sorrows. They showed him the path he must take, a path not of battle, but of listening. His quest was clear. He had to unite the clans. He had to bridge the chasms of fear that kept them apart. The oracles gave him a single pearl, glowing with their own light. It was a guide. It would help him navigate the treacherous waters and find the hearts of the clan leaders. Sahran accepted the pearl and the quest. He was just one shark. The task felt immense, like trying to hold back the tide. But as he turned to leave the grotto, his own mark glowing steadily, he was no longer just Sahran. He was Sahran, the hope of the Celestine Trench. Sahran's first stop was the territory of the Razorfin clan. The water here was hot, and honestly it smelled of sulfur. Jagged volcanic rocks jutted out all around, kinda like broken teeth. Razorfin guards, their skin tough as armor, circled him right away. Their eyes were cold and definitely challenging. They led him to their leader, Kale, a massive shark covered in the scars of, 100 battles. Kale looked at Sahran's smooth skin and glowing mark with, real contempt. "You are soft," Kale rumbled, his voice like grinding stones. "The ocean rewards strength, not pretty lights." Sahran did not challenge him. He didn't show his teeth. He remembered the vision from the oracles. He remembered Kale's secret sorrow. He simply bowed his head in respect. "You are the strongest shark in the trench, Lord Kale," Sahran said, his voice calm and even. "Your strength is legendary. But I have seen the poison seep even here. I have seen the rift monsters attack your patrols. Your strength is great, but even the strongest mountain can be worn down by a sick tide." Kale scoffed, but a flicker of doubt crossed his eyes. He had lost warriors to the monsters. His clan was strong, but they were also tired. They were constantly fighting, always on guard. Sahran did not press the point. Instead, he spoke of what he had seen. He described the fear of the smaller creatures. He described how the rift monsters hunted not with skill, but with mindless rage. He talked about the ocean's pain, a feeling that even a hardened warrior like Kale could understand deep in the currents. Sahran then swam to a young razorfin, whose fin had been torn by a rift monster. The wound was festering with the dark poison. Instead of offering a challenge, Sahran gently nudged the wound with his snout, his glowing mark pulsing softly against it. The light seemed to soothe the pain, to clean the poison. Kale watched this small act of care. It wasn't a show of power, it was an act of empathy. He saw that Sahran's strength was not in his jaw, but in his heart. "Tell me more," Kale said, his voice a little softer. "Tell me of this unity you speak of." Guided by the glowing pearl, Sahran left the volcanic vents and traveled to the great kelp forests. This was the home of the silent-tail sharks. The forest was eerily quiet. The kelp, once thick and green, was now brown and brittle, decaying from the poison. Sahran swam slowly, making his presence known. He did not want to startle them. Shadows detached themselves from the dying fronds. They were the silent tails, their eyes wide and wary. They moved without a sound, circling him like ghosts. They led him to their matriarch, Lyra. She was old and sleek, her body a map of silvery scars. Her clan was hidden around her, peeking from the shadows of the kelp. Lyra did not trust outsiders. "We have seen you with the razorfin," she whispered, her voice like the rustle of dry leaves. "They are brutes. They know only destruction. The ocean's problems are not our own. We survive by remaining unseen. Your quest will bring only danger to our door." Her fear was a wall around her heart. Sahran remembered the oracle's vision of Lyra's sorrow. He saw the dying forest around them. "You are right to be cautious, Matriarch Lyra," he said softly. "Your clan's wisdom and stealth is unmatched, but I see your home is dying. The poison does not care if you are seen or unseen. It kills the very shadows you hide in." He didn't speak of battle or strength. He spoke of loss. He spoke of the beauty of their forest as it once was, a memory they all shared. He then showed her the glowing pearl from the oracles. He told her how the ancient jellyfish had guided him, how they held the ocean's memories. The Silent Tales respected the ancient ways. Lyra looked at the pearl, then at Sahran's glowing mark. She saw that he was not like the brash razorfin. He listened. He understood their fear because he spoke of its consequences. "The rift monsters are drawn to the dying parts of the ocean," Sahran explained. "By helping the ocean heal, we protect our homes. We do not have to fight like the razorfin. We can be the ocean's silent guardians." Lyra considered his words, her gaze thoughtful. A seed of trust had been planted. Sahran's journey next took him to the vast, empty plains of the seabed. This was the domain of the sandvale kind. The light here was brighter, but the silence was deeper. There was nowhere to hide, except within the sand itself. As Sahran swam, he could feel eyes watching him from beneath the seafloor. He felt their collective fear, a trembling in the water. He stopped and waited patiently. He knew they would not come to him. He had to show them he was not a threat. Slowly, a shape began to form. Sand shifted and rose, revealing an ancient shark, his skin the color of the seabed. This was Olin, the elder of the sandvile kind. His eyes were old and filled with a deep, weary sadness. "Go away, little star shark," Olin's voice rumbled, muffled by the sand. "We have seen the monsters. We have seen the poison. We have seen the other clans. War is coming. We will not be a part of it. Our way is to endure. We will wait until the storm passes, as we always have." Sahran looked at the elder, buried up to his gills in the sand. He saw not patience, but profound fear. The oracles had shown him Olin's greatest sorrow, the memory of a time when his clan was bold, before a great tragedy taught them to hide from the world. "Great elder," Sahran said gently, "I do not bring war. I bring a chance for peace. But peace cannot be found by hiding from life. The poison is seeping into the sand you call home. The storm will not pass this time. It will wash you away." Instead of arguing, Sahran did something unexpected. He settled onto the sand nearby. He did not try to get closer. He simply rested. He shared his quiet presence. He told Olin stories of the brave razorfin he had met and the wise silent tales. He spoke not of their fighting ability, but of their love for their homes. He showed Olin that the other clans were not just monsters or brutes, but families, just like his own. He showed him that being brave did not mean you were not afraid. It meant you acted despite your fear. Slowly, other sandvale sharks began to emerge from the sand, drawn by his calm voice and the gentle light of his mark. As Sahran worked to unite the shark clans, his message of empathy began to spread on the currents. It reached creatures that had long been enemies of the sharks. It reached the dolphins. The dolphins were intelligent and swift. They had always seen sharks as mindless predators. The long history of fear and conflict between them was as deep as the trench itself. But they too saw the poison. They too were attacked by the horrid rift monsters. Their pods were suffering. One day, as Sahran was swimming between territories, he was surrounded by a pod of dolphins. Their leader, a sleek female named Coralia, faced him. There was no aggression in her posture, only sharp curiosity. "We have heard your story, Star Shark," she chittered, her voice a series of clicks and whistles that Sahran could understand through the water's vibrations. "We have seen you with the clans. You do not act like other sharks. You do not lead with your teeth. Why should we trust you?" Sahran did not try to defend himself or his kind. He simply spoke his truth. "I do not ask you to trust me," he replied calmly. "I ask you to see that we share the same water. We breathe the same ocean. The poison that sickens your young also sickens mine. The monsters that hunt your pods also hunt my friends. My teeth and your speed are different, but our fear is the same. Our hope for our children is the same. In this, we are not enemies. We are neighbors." His honesty surprised Coralia. She saw no deception in his eyes, only a deep sadness for their dying world. Sahran told her about the rift. He explained his plan, not as a shark's plan, but as an ocean's plan. He proposed that their strengths could work together, the shark's power, the dolphin's speed and communication. They could be the ocean's shield and its messengers. Coralia, a wise leader, saw the truth in his words. For the first time in generations, a shark and a dolphin floated side by side, not as predator and prey, but as allies. The alliance was forged. The day came when the poison from the rift grew into a black tide. A massive horde of rift monsters surged from the darkness, heading for the heart of the trench. But this time, the ocean was ready. At the mouth of the rift, an incredible army had gathered. The powerful razorfins swam at the front, their rocky hides a living wall. Behind them, the silent-tails moved like ghosts, ready to strike from the flanks. The sandvale kind rose from the seabed, creating a shifting defense that confused the mindless enemy. Above them all, the dolphins darted through the water. They were the eyes and ears of the army, their clicks and whistles coordinating the attack. And at the center of it all was Sahran. He was not the strongest fighter. He was not the fastest swimmer. He was the heart. His glowing mark was a beacon of hope in the dark, churning water. It reminded every creature why they were there. Not for clan, not for territory, but for each other, for their shared home. The battle was ferocious. The rift monsters fought with insane rage, but the united creatures of the sea fought with purpose. The razorfin held the line with brute strength. The silent tails picked off monsters that broke through. The sandvale created diversions, protecting the injured. The dolphins relayed messages, warning of dangers before they arrived. It was a beautiful, terrible dance of unity. For every blow they took, they returned it with the combined strength of a healed ocean. Sahran swam everywhere, encouraging the weary and helping the fallen. Finally, Sahran knew what he had to do. He swam directly toward the dark heart of the rift. The monsters swarmed him, but his new allies protected him, clearing a path. He reached the tear in the seabed and pushed the moon jelly's pearl deep inside. Then he pressed his own glowing mark against the rift. A brilliant silver light erupted, pushing back the darkness. The light healed the wound in the ocean floor. The poison stopped. The monsters, cut off from their source, dissolved into nothing. The battle was won. Sahran's legacy was not just a victory. It was a new beginning, a promise of a peaceful ocean, united and whole, forever bathed in the memory of his gentle, starlit courage.